Paul.
Hi, good morning.
You look like you're in a very Pinterest orchestrated place. I wanted to start off by just talking about where Pinterest stands amongst all these issues we've been discussing today, because people don't necessarily think of Pinterest when we're talking about issues of kids online, safety issues, and that sort of thing. But your CEO, Bill Ready, has talked pretty vocally about the experiences that Pinterest has gone through on this issue, where when the platform started its short form video and sort of AI feed optimization efforts, you saw that some people were actually sort of misusing it and targeting kids in certain ways. And so I wanted to just ask how you guys have learned from that in terms of what Pinterest needs to do to protect kids, young people, particularly girls, on the platform, and where you see technology helping or hurting in those efforts.
Absolutely. And Pinterest is a platform that's oriented around positivity and inspiration. And we're building a business around that very mission. Whether that's decorating a room or it's picking out an outfit for prom, we want to make sure that folks can take those ideas, those inspirations, those pins, and convert them into real-world action. And teenagers, in particular, are at a fairly vulnerable stage in their life journey, right? They're growing, they're learning, they're developing. And for us, it means that we've got to put guardrails in place to protect their emotional well-being, their mental health. And we do this in a number of ways. And as the VP of Trust and Safety, my role is to make sure that not only is this a positive and inspiring platform, but it's also safe and that it's age appropriate and those experiences are reflective of those commitments. We do this in a number of different ways. Our community guidelines can serve as a starting place for what is and is not acceptable on the platform. The rules of the road, if you will. And making sure that folks clearly understand what is and is not okay. And we have humans that are reviewing content that's flagged. We're labeling content. We're building AI models to detect violative content, bad actors, and kind of coming back to your question of how do we kind of pull this all together, we make sure that we've got the right systems in place to identify violative behavior and violative content and quickly action it. We also are making sure that we've got controls in place so that for teenagers in particular, and I'll give you an example, the 13 to 15-year-olds, we have those profiles are private only. Not as an option, it's private only. So they're not getting contacted by some random person on the internet and some random person's not commenting on their pins or their boards. It gives them the space to grow, to learn, to explore in a safe environment. And as they get older, we kind of graduate them up to less controls. But we also give parents the ability to have parents and caregivers the opportunity to sit down and have conversations with the kids in their home about the controls that are in place and make sure that they've struck the right balance. So there's a number of different ways, but trust and safety work is never done.
So you talked about AI, so how does AI also pose a threat in those ways as well? Because it can obviously be used to, heard of deep fakes and various ways that you could, possibly obscure or lie about your age, your identity, on both sides for both the users and possibly bad actors who are trying to target them. So how are you also defending the platform against some of those threats posed by AI?
Yeah, and as I'm sure it's not a surprise, bad guys are going to continue to do bad things, right? And they're going to use the latest in technology to accomplish those things and get around controls. We've been using AI, and we're going to continue to use AI in order to identify patterns of bad activity and clamp down on it very quickly. But we're also using it on a trust and safety side for positive things, making sure that we've got space for folks to see positive content and take down violative content quickly. And to kind of bring that home, things like self-harm, suicide, eating disorders, because of the advancements we're making with AI, our ability to detect that content and pull it down means that very few people are seeing it. And at the end of 2023, we were seeing that for those categories of violative content, 95% of those were pulled down before people could see them, and the remaining were 10 individuals had seen those content. So we're getting better at leveraging the technology to create a safer space, but as a business, we're also using it for positivity and inclusivity. And to kind of share some of that, we've got our inclusive search. So you've got body shape and hair pattern are two of the dimensions by which we allow folks to search so that they can start to see themselves in the content that's on our platform. And Gen Z, which makes up 40% of our active user base, is really loving these features. It gives them an opportunity to really search for things that resonate with them. And with hair pattern, we've seen a 200% increase in engagement as a result with Gen Z. So it's an opportunity for us to really bring AI and show what's possible and how we can really use it for positivity and inspiration.
So we've been talking as well about all these states that have passed, various age verification rules. We've seen the Senate just recently expand the Children Online Privacy Act to include teenagers in that as well. How does Pinterest deal with sort of all these different rules from the state level? And obviously we'll see what happens on the federal level, but also sort of internationally, especially when it comes to user-generated content, because a lot of some of the complaints we're hearing from some of the companies that have age-restricted products or other things where they're trying actually not to reach young people, that a lot of what gets seen involving their products on social media are sort of out of their hands. And how much do these state rules help on that front? And does the patchwork system sort of make life more difficult for people like you?
Yeah. So I think we can all agree that federal regulation to protect kids online is long overdue. And we've been spending a lot of time with policymakers to try and assist in accomplishing the goal of how do we make the internet a more educational, informative, additive technology in the lives of young people as opposed to addictive. Because I think that's part of the challenge here is platforms have a tendency to be addictive. And Pinterest is not a platform where content goes viral. We surface additive, constructive, meaningful content. And so regulation needs to follow suit. Like, what do we want to solve for? Not how can we use regulation as a blunt instrument, kind of chasing a latest product or a latest situation at a platform. But the patchwork that you called out is absolutely untenable. I mean, I run an organization that's largely focused on how do we maintain compliance, and we're allocating a significant number of resources chasing compliance as opposed to allocating those resources to build additional safety controls and make the platform safer. And so it's challenging going state by state and then looking at the federal level and then multiple countries. It's absolutely something that we want to continue to lean into the conversations with policymakers to help solve and streamline, but a family should have a similar expectation of care and have a consistent experience regardless of what state they're in. This shouldn't be, I go from one state to another and now I have different controls, different experiences, different expectations. So I think a federal regulation here would really be helpful for everyone.
So given the state of things now, are you basically building the platform to whichever region or state or country has the toughest regulations, because you at least know that then it covers all your bases? Or are you literally, making tweaks to depending on, where you're accessing the site to basically comply with the local rules?
Yeah, so it is a little dependent. I think we are making sure that we are abiding by the laws and regulations that apply to us. It is challenging, though, in order to make that a reality across the globe. Because again, there are a number of differing standards that are out there, and making sure that we're providing a consistent, positive experience for people that are using the platform is challenging when there are so many different standards to adhere to.
Yeah. So what would you tell policymakers about what platforms like Pinterest can do and what you can't do, or what is difficult to do? Because I think there's a sense, and you hear a lot of times during hearings in Congress when CEOs of Meta and various other social platforms are called before them that, why can't you just do this? Why can't you just block out all of that? And, you're obviously dealing with a lot of pins, a lot of content. What do they not understand about sort of the art of the possible?
Yeah, I mean, there are 500 billion pins, and 1.5 billion are being pinned a week. Like, we have 522 million monthly active users, and continues to grow. So the scale at which we're solving some of these challenges is daunting. And I don't know that it's as simple as just doing X. We absolutely are leaning into the moment, and Pinterest takes trust and safety very seriously. We continue to invest in this and make sure that this is a safe corner of the internet, because we believe it's possible. We believe that a positive and inspiring social platform is possible, and that businesses can thrive by doing this. So we see this as a great opportunity to lean in with policymakers and kind of pull in policymakers, tech companies, civil society groups to sit down and take this from conversation to action. Because there's been a lot of conversation on these things over the years, but I think we've got a unique opportunity ahead of us right now to solve some very meaningful challenges in this space, and we're all in.